counterfeit, but not a whole lot. But I'm good to stream whenever.
All right. I'm getting it going now. Oh, let me check your audio real quick.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check.
Yeah, we good. Cool. Okay, first thing to do is that. Oh man, I'm tired. I feel like I'm always tired. Okay. All right, man. You about ready? I cannot hear you. You're mute. You have me. You're muted.
Yep, I'm here.
That took me way too long to get those two words out of my mouth.
You ever that you could do anything?
Oh, jeez. Oh, I hope that's not a sign of how this night's gonna go.
Oh, I'm sure it's not.
All right. Let's get things rolling. Let's do it to it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Booth Review, Week 8. Week 8 coming at you hot. As always, I'm your host, Devin Primrose, joined, he's back, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend himself, joined by my brother from another mother, Mr. Blake Ivy. What's going on, man?
Man, we were just talking about how we're tired, but I was thinking before we got on, I was like, oh yeah, I was listening to the podcast last week. That was just a week ago. That was 1 week ago. Yeah. It feels like it was like a month ago. But yeah. Hey, I feel like I can objectively say we've got a good podcast. Yeah. We've got a good podcast. This is the first time I've listened to it with it being like just listening to enjoy it, because I wasn't listening. I wasn't there the first time it was recorded. I was
Right.
away doing some church stuff, and so I wasn't able to be here. But I enjoyed it. I thought Peter did a great job filling in for
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Big shout out to Peter, even though he has maybe some of the worst takes in our Discord. He did a great job. He did a great job.
That's why.
And
That's why
so
he's the Sultan of Spice, man. He's
he
bringing
is.
the hottest takes that
The
will
nickname is perfect.
eventually be freezing cold takes. Um,
Um,
yeah, man.
Sorry, I'm also texting my neighbor because Larry Zeke's
Yeah.
Zeke's bear. He left it over at the neighbor's house today, and so I'm
Oh.
texting with our neighbor right now, trying to retrieve Larry. Let me
Gotta
see.
save Larry, man.
I have to, Larry. So for everybody else who doesn't know this, sorry, Larry is Zeke's like blanket bear thing that he's had his entire life. Can't do anything without it. But yeah, okay. Sorry. So I'm texting with my neighbor to make sure Larry's okay.
That's gonna be the title of the episode right there. Hashtag save Larry.
Hashtag save Larry.
People are gonna be like, who the hell is Larry?
Who is Larry? He was the original co-host. So, I think he just brought it by.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I'll be back. Hold on.
Oh man, 3 minutes in, we're already starting. Well, if you're in here hanging out, thanks for stopping by. If you're in here,
All right. I'm back.
all right.
And,
Is Larry safe and secure?
He is. I got up because I thought I didn't know where Maddie was, and I was like, I'm just gonna go just in case.
Yeah.
So anyway, she was at the front door. She's got it taken care of. But yeah, Zeke's last baseball game of the season was tonight. And so that was a good time. Had a little pizza party and stuff. That's why I'm a little later than usual getting on. But
Hey.
yeah, it was a busy week, man. But I'm glad to be back. Glad to be talking some NFL football. How are you? How's your week been?
I mean, same old.
Same old.
Work, and then maybe I find time to play disc golf, and then I bought 2K, NBA 2K,
Yeah.
so I've been, that's been consuming every, second of my life since getting that
That's how it works.
last Thursday, I think is when I got that. So, yeah, that's always a good time. If you don't have 2K, go get 2K. What are you doing with your life?
It's a great game.
Yeah, I actually
just heard that it went on sale, so I don't know if you got it when I was on sale, but
no, I did. Yeah, that's the reason I got it is because
nice.
I got a rather nice tip at work, and so I was like, hey, you know what? I'm a little extra cash. I'm gonna give me this game that I've been wanting.
There you go.
Because it's on sale. But yeah, that's probably arguably my favorite video game series. I mean, I think
it's just so fun, man.
I think it's got to be that or The Show.
Yeah.
Which sports games are weird because they do tend to feel like a reskin every single year they come out. But I feel like those two franchises do a very good job of reskinning, but like bringing a little bit something new every year, a little something different.
I like the feel of 2K a lot this year. They've changed, they tweaked the gameplay to make it a little bit more realistic, and I feel it. I like it a lot. So yeah,
it's been good. It's been good, man. But this is not an NBA podcast. It's not a video game podcast. This is a NFL podcast, man.
Yeah,
so let's get into some NFL action. Week 7 had some craziness go down. A couple big upsets. You want me to go first, Best of Booth, or you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll let you go first.
All right. So my Best of Booth, I decided on kind of a fun one. We had 2 pretty big upsets, and interestingly, there's a link between the 2. So my Best of the Booth goes to developmental leagues. Just developmental leagues. In 2 of the bigger upsets of the week, a pair of former XFL quarterbacks absolutely shined against a struggling Green Bay team. Former XFL backup Taylor Heineke. I'm the conductor of the Heine train, as we all know. Taylor Heineke went out there, led the Washington Commanders to a comeback win, going 20 of 33 for 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Just a few hours south of DC, the unofficial MVP of the shortened 2020 XFL season, Mr. PJ Walker, was leading his Carolina Panthers to a shocking upset over Tampa Bay. He went 16 of 22 for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, nothing super flashy from these guys necessarily, but they got the wins for their respective clubs, displaying grit and heart along the way. And I think that speaks a lot about these two guys and the need for a developmental league. Another developmental league standout and MVP of this year's USFL season, KaVontae Turpin, had a very nice 52-yard punt return for the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday against the Lions in what was a surprisingly close game at the time, being a big factor in the return game all season for Dallas, helping them win the field position battle. So I think that you have guys like this that have come into the league and at times make the big plays they need to make. I think it says a lot about the need for a USFL, an XFLA, what have you, just to give guys reps and give them a second chance. I mean, I'm not going to say
what have you.
What's that?
I like a good what have you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say that like PJ Walker or Taylor Heineke should necessarily be a starting NFL quarterback. I do think Taylor Heineke has the goods to do that. But,
I'm with you on that.
But should they at least be given a shot? I think so. And I think that their time in the XFL helped to get them that second chance to get back into the league or get a first chance in the NFL and show what they can do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Me and you both have talked about this at length, that I think that even if it doesn't pull in great viewership numbers,
doesn't matter.
I think that it's good for the league.
100%.
Even if it's just having those guys that were ready to step up because they're not afraid of the lights, and I get that, like the other guys, they played in college or whatever, but I mean, these are guys that have gotten paid to play football, which again, most USC players. Reggie Bush, he got paid to play football long before he was in the NFL.
I mean, most college football players now with NIL deals.
Yeah. But anyway, they were more ready, if anything, to step in and do that. So yeah, I think the developmental leagues are great, and I would love to see them catch on more and see more crossover from guys who were in one making their appearance in the other. Would be great. I would love it.
That's kind of what's been fun about watching what KaVontae Turpin's been doing for Dallas. In the preseason, he made headlines because he had a punt return for a touchdown and a kick return for a touchdown in the same game. Obviously, that was in the preseason. It's a little bit different, but since the regular season started, he's put up decent return numbers every single week, and that's a huge factor. Like if you can be 30 yards closer to the red zone, then that's a huge deal.
I mean, absolutely. Like that's field position is so much of the NFL game.
Yes.
Like I don't remember who it was. It was one of the rookies that played. Maybe it was Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow that said that he was used to, if you didn't score a touchdown, it was like, oh man, that drive was a failure. Yeah. And then he got into the NFL and coaches were like, no, field position means so much in the NFL that even if you drove the ball 40 yards down the field and then you were able to punt and pin them deep, that's huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, the field position game is huge in the NFL. So yeah, absolutely. Punt returns, being able to rip off a 30-yarder is amazing,
Yeah.
Put your team in a great position.
Yeah, and what's crazy is Turpin's been, essentially been playing full-time football since, like, the end of March at this point. I mean, you would think those legs are going to get tired at some point, but,
yeah.
I mean, he was the MVP of the USFL for a reason.
Right.
And just an absolute force in the return game. It's fun. It's fun to see guys like that. I mean, Devin Hester was probably the most famous of those return guys, but yeah, it's always fun to see someone like that just kills it in that area of the game.
Yeah, I mean, similar similarly, Cordero Patterson, who is one of the best return guys ever,
Yep.
now getting a chance to shine at a more regular role in the team is cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of those Dallas Cowboys, my best of the booth is gonna go to Dallas's defense, and it seems like I feel like this could almost be best of the booth every week, but I love Dallas's defense. I just look. What are you laughing at? What did I say something wrong?
No, what's crazy is so you sent me your best of the booth earlier today, and
Yeah.
when I got home to figure out my best of the booth and my under review, I did not remember who you had as your best of the booth, and so we're going to be talking about this Dallas Detroit game a lot. But
Okay, good.
anyways,
That's fine. Yeah, maybe it'll lead nicely into your under review.
Oh, it definitely will.
So, this Dallas defense is just unreal. 5 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 3 fumbles, and 0 touchdowns allowed to what was the best offense for the first 5 weeks of the season, first quarter of the season. They were the best offense. Like, nobody was touching them. And, I mean, granted, they're without some key pieces. They struggled last week against the Patriots, but 5 turnovers. Holy cow, that's ridiculous. And I just this Dallas defense is unbelievable. It makes me sad that Dan Quinn couldn't have done this when he was in Atlanta. Thankfully, we've got Dean Pease now, who is, I didn't realize he was the defensive guy for Baltimore back in Baltimore's heyday of being defensive monsters. So I love that. But I mean, this Dallas defense is not fair. It's just not fair.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder. You brought up Dan Quinn being in Atlanta. I do wonder how different it is being strictly a defensive coordinator versus being the head coach and the guy. Like, I'm sure, like, obviously you have way more on your plate, but I do wonder how much attention he's able to give just the defense when he's not having to worry about everything else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, that's what he did in Seattle. Like, he was
Right.
an unbelievable DC in Seattle.
Right.
And so it's pretty crazy that he, just like wasn't able to cut it as a head coach, but is an unbelievably good DC.
Yeah.
So
I think there's guys like that all across the league. And on the offensive side too, I think there's just great offensive minds that can't cut it as a head coach, but are fantastic offensive coordinators.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
weird.
maybe that's what it is with Eric Bieniemy. That maybe he's just like, I don't want to go be a failed head coach. I'd rather be the best offensive coordinator in the league.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and segue into my under review because I mean it's right here.
There.
My under review is just the Detroit Lions, just the Lions. Detroit. Just let me talk to you real quick. Look me in my eyes. Look me in my eyes right here. Let me just talk to you. All right. You were down by 4 points to this Dallas Cowboys team in the fourth quarter. The game that you're not supposed to be in at all. You're supposed to be getting blown out, obliterated by these Cowboys. You're down 4 points in the fourth quarter. You were on the 1 yard line. You could have scored and gone ahead. But you didn't. What's wrong with you? You were still in a game that you had no business being in. On the 1 yard line to score a go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter, and it all fell apart. Honestly, to me, it fell apart on the previous play. It looked as if Wright ran into the end zone on a screen pass, but it was ruled just short. Hey, MCDC, I love you, but you have a red flag in your pocket for a reason. Throw a challenge. At least let them look at it. Give them a chance to turn that over. Those are much-needed points in this game. Give them a chance to look at it, turn it over. You can't take the challenge with you, might as well use it. Instead, they just keep playing. Hands it off to Jamal Williams, fumbles it in the end zone. Turnover on the 1 yard line. Detroit would then turn the ball over on their remaining 3 possessions to finish the game. 5 total turnovers, as you said, for Detroit. And, hats off to the Dallas defense, but you can't do that. You can't have those kinds of mistakes, especially against good teams. And you can't allow the mistakes to snowball when you have a deflating play like the Jamal Williams fumble at the 1 yard line. That really seemed to turn the tide because Detroit was hanging with Dallas. I mean, credit to Detroit. That Detroit defense was kind of shutting down Dak and company. I mean, they weren't allowing them to really take control of that game like that offense should do. And yes, Detroit's offense couldn't get things moving, as we've kind of grown accustomed to seeing over the first 5 weeks, 6 weeks of the season, but they were still able to put up a couple points and hang right there. Again, it's a 4-point game in the fourth quarter. Close it out. Stay with them.
Yeah.
Instead, you end up losing by 18 points because everything just turned around. I mean, literally within 10 minutes. I think there was 10 minutes left on the clock when everything just shifted for Detroit. I just can't with this team, man. You're a good team. You are a good team, Detroit. You have the potential to be a good team. We've all seen that. You've shown that you can compete. You lost by 3 points to the undefeated team in the league. You lost by 3 to the Philadelphia Eagles. You have the capacity to be a good team. Just clean it up and go do it.
You remember when I said I'll believe that this Lions team is legit when they passed their win total from last year?
Yes.
That was 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was 5 weeks ago. And you know what? Still haven't.
Yeah.
We're sitting here, and didn't you say by week 5 they will have passed their?
I mean, in theory, they should have. It's so frustrating with this team because they're not like
what what we said about this Dallas team every single week last year.
Yeah,
should have.
Yeah, but I mean, when you watch this team outside of the game against the New England Patriots, I would say for 80% of the games 80% of the time in the games that they play, this team looks good. Like, they don't look like a bad team. You go back to, I don't know, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago when the Browns went like 1-31 across 2 seasons. You watched the Browns, that was a bad team. It was a bad team every single week. You could see it. This Lions team isn't that. They have the capacity to be a good team. There's just like something isn't happening. And I don't know what that is.
Shoulda. The shitty Lions. The shitty Detroit Lions. That sounded way closer.
You're over there flirting
way closer than I thought it was going to. In my head, it didn't sound quite close.
You're over there flirting with that explicit label.
Yes, the shoulda Lions. Woo. Okay, moving along. The Lions are also included in my next segment. Kind of. Don't worry. This is just kind of okay. So under review. Yeah, we need to. Detroit Lions, you're under review. They needed that. They need it more than anybody needs it. My under review is not even like anybody in particular. So my under review is just injuries.
Yeah.
They just suck, man. Like, just for everybody. Like, this is not aimed at anybody. This is not like I'm not disappointed. Sorry, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. That's where I'm at right now. I feel like a dad. Like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Let's look at the injuries just this week. AJ Terrell, which that Bengals-Falcons game, when he went down, I was like, this is a wrap. Like, I mean, that was like the second series. It was like, okay, this is over.
I don't know how me or you, neither one of us put Joe Burrow as best of the booth, because that guy, he had what, like 300 plus yards in the first half. I mean, I understand the situation, but like,
yeah, like that's to me that's why I disqualified him from best of the booth, because it's like you were going up against the Falcons' third and fourth string corners, and then like 2 of them got hurt.
Yeah.
So at that point, like he's just slinging it all over across. Like I might as well have been out there. Like it was just ugly. Like it didn't. Guys just not even close to receivers, and when they were close, they came up pulling a hamstring. It was like, what are you doing out there? So AJ Terrell went down. Same game. Trey Hendrickson went down. David Njoku, who was having a much like his best season.
Yeah. Yep.
Amon-Ra St. Brown he's been struggling with injuries all season, but he went down this past game. Alan Lazard, Nico Collins, nice receiver from Houston, J.C. Jackson, cornerback from I almost called him San Diego, from the Chargers, that was supposed to be like their big free agent signing. He struggled with injuries, and then now he's out for the season.
Yeah.
Mike Williams also for the Chargers. Evan Neal, the Giants, brand new, shiny new big tackle. He went down with an injury this week. Bryce Hall out for the season. DK Metcalf, who knows how serious that injury is as of the time of this recording. Antoine Winfield Jr. went down, and Ryan Tannehill. All those were just Sunday. All those injuries were just Sunday. That's not to mention before that, J.K. Dobbins, Hollywood Brown, Rashad Penny, the whole Tua saga, Javonte Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Trey Lance, Dak Prescott struggled with injury, and thankfully Cooper Rush was able to fill in the gap a little bit. Jamal Adams for the Seahawks. Can we talk about how this Seahawks team would be if Jamal Adams had not gotten injured week 1? Yeah. I mean, this Seahawks team could be threatening. And then the worst injury of all of them, I think we could all agree, TJ Watt.
Yeah.
That we have all been missing TJ Watt, but especially those in Pittsburgh are missing TJ Watt.
He is a Watt, so we've kind of grown accustomed to it.
That's true. Like these are not 40 watt bulbs or 17 watt. That's how many games there are in a season. These are like 12 watt bulbs. Yeah. That's what they are. And you get like 8 to 12 games out of them. But yeah, man, injuries just suck. Like it's just been so hard. Like all those names that I listed are, and they're not necessarily the biggest names, but they're names that were really important to their team. You know, like Absolutely. It's one thing if you lose a quarterback, it's like, well, there goes this season. You know, but when you're losing like these role players that change how teams game plan, and you know now you've only got one receiver instead of two, and so teams can just kind of be like, well, you can beat us with anybody else, or when you lose Rashad Penny, who, I mean, Rashad Penny was having his best year. Like that dude was unbelievable.
I mean, Kenny Walker's looking nice for them though.
Kenny Walker is too. Maybe it's just the Seahawks. Who knew? Yeah. Who knew?
Not us.
I mean, DeAndre Swift, like that's a huge piece for the Lions. Trey Lance, Jonathan Taylor, like these are guys that mean a lot to them. Breece Hall looked like he could be Rookie of the Year, and now maybe comeback Player of the Year next year. Yeah. You know, like, or is it going to be like a J.K. Dobbins situation where is this going to be what we see every year? But
well, I mean, you bring up Breece Hall and credit to the Jets front office for what they've done over the last year at this point. They went out and won the draft, I feel like, with all the players they brought in. And then you have your star rookie running back in Breece Hall go down with a season-ending injury. I think it was literally the next day that they had made the trade for James Robinson out of Jacksonville. Yeah. Which, I mean...
For a 6th rounder?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I don't know how they pulled that off.
I looked at that and I was like, Falcons! What are you doing?
Yeah.
Get him! He's right there.
Yeah, huge credit to that Jets front office for making moves and saying that, look, we've had enough of being the laughingstock of the league. We're not going for just mediocrity. Like we're in this thing to win it. I think that's a huge move for that team.
Hey, the fact that we're giving flowers to the Jets front office,
I know,
should say a lot. Like that's huge. Like, how exciting to be a Jets fan and looking at this team.
Like, how exciting to be a fan of football in the state of New York. You got Buffalo,
or New Jersey.
You got Buffalo, the New York Giants, and the New York Jets, who are all killing it right now. Like
that's it was really funny. I think it was ESPN tweeted, and they said football is just different in New York, and they posted the record for the Bills, the Giants, and the Jets, and then Dawson Knox tweeted and said, "Who's gonna tell them?" And then later they tweeted out, "Oh, sorry, Dawson Knox," and they tagged him and said, "Is this better?" And it said football in New Jersey, and it had the Jets and the Giants, and then it said football in New York and had the Bills. I was like, that's pretty perfect. But anyway,
yeah, I'm hopeful that most of those big names can have relatively speedy recoveries and
yeah, man,
and at least come back and be very similar to the level that they were at, because a lot of those guys were looking good, and those are some big names that are on that list for sure.
Yeah. Just like it's just hard to watch and having the feeling of like, man, if we only had or if they only had,
Yeah.
and it's just and you hate it for the fans of those teams other than the Saints, you hate it for the fans of the teams that they root for these guys and like now their teams are down and your hopes are but
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, what we got for
Under review injuries.
what we got for legit or counterfeit this week?
All right, for legit or counterfeit this week, I keep wanting to talk about Geno Smith. I sent it to you last week. I was like, hey, if you and Pete want to talk about Geno Smith,
We'll
here's
do
all
it.
these
Pull it
stats.
out. Pull
I
it
did
out.
all these research this week. No. I want to give the people what they want. So we asked the Discord because I also think that this quarterback situation in New England is pretty interesting. So I want to take a dive in to the Mac Zap saga. Mac Zappa. Bailey Jones Mac Zappa Mac saga. So your legit counterfeit is you gotta pick one.
Okay.
Which one is legit? Which one's the counterfeit?
Oh, don't make me call the
Mac
other one a
Jones.
counterfeit.
You got to, man. That's the rules of the game. You signed up for the game. I mean, you didn't really, but like you did.
It's tough, man, because like we saw what Mac Jones could do in a whole season last year, and while I don't think either me or you were overly in love with Mac Jones, I think the term that we came up with him was that advanced game manager type quarterback. Like that's the style that's basically his ceiling, is being not necessarily an elite quarterback, but advanced game manager.
Yeah, solid.
And then he comes out in year 2, and he kind of struggles out of the gate. Like he didn't look good necessarily. Got injured.
He fizzled at the end of last year.
That is true. That is true also. And then you got this kid, Bailey Zappi, stepping in that we all thought was going to, not do great. In fact, he didn't even step in right away. It was supposed to be Brian Hoyer that was coming in. Brian Hoyer goes down with a concussion, and Bailey Zappi comes out as the third stringer and is like, hey, Belichick, don't worry. I got you, man. And lights it up. And what he's done is undeniable. I mean, he's had a fantastic stretch over the last, I want to say 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. And so it's tough to call him legit with such a small sample size and Mac Jones counterfeit. But I feel like
Here, before
Okay.
you make your, I've sent you in the Discord. I've sent you both their individual Pro Football Reference and then their comparison. I think the comparison's a little more helpful. Comparison is just going off this year, so it's kind of discounting the year that Mac Jones had a little bit last year, which was, I mean, really good. Mac Jones. Just to refresh our memories on Mac Jones last year. Last year, Mac Jones, he went 10-7, 67% completion.
Yeah.
3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 picks. Not terrible.
Right.
I mean that's a pretty solid season.
Yeah.
Then this year, he's still rocking a 65% completion. He compared to Bailey Zapp's 70. So Bailey Zapp's completing a little bit more passes, and they have attempted. There's only a 10 pass difference in what these guys have attempted. Their quarterback rating, Max is 70, Bailey Zapps is 100. So pretty big jump there.
It's the
touchdowns to
touchdown.
interceptions.
It's the ratio. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean touchdowns to interception. Mac Jones has thrown 2 touchdowns and 6 picks. Bailey Zapp has thrown 5 touchdowns and 3 picks.
Yeah, I was unaware that they actually had a pretty similar sample size for this season alone.
Yeah.
it says that Zappe's played in 4 games. His record technically is 2-0 because he only started 2 of those games.
Right.
The first one was in relief of Brian Hoyer against the Packers in a game that honestly the Patriots probably should have won. And then his most recent one was Monday night in relief of Mac Jones. And if I'm Bill Belichick, if I'm being honest, I'm probably going with the hot hand. I would stick with Zappe.
Is that through? Is it Zappy?
I think it is Zappe. I still don't know. I don't know, but I think it's Zappe.
Does it? I think it tells us here on all thing. If I could read those like little pronunciation things, Zappy. That's what it says. It is Zappy.
Okay.
Zappy.
Yeah.
Bailey Zappe.
To me,
Terrible name.
when you have pretty identical amount of time that the two quarterbacks have played, and one is throwing almost 6% better completion percentage and has a far better touchdown to interception ratio, I feel like you've got to go with the hot hand. Like, I'm not saying that you necessarily stick with Bailey the rest of the season, but maybe Mac Jones can learn something from being benched. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for a young quarterback. I think when done properly, it can push that quarterback to drive that much harder. You know what I'm saying? To put in that much more work, that much more effort to improve. And maybe Mac Jones will be the guy there in the long run, but I don't think he's the guy right now. I think you go with Bailey. I don't like the way you're phrasing this question of making me say one's legit and one's counterfeit. But if I've got to do that, Bailey's legit and Mac's counterfeit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so I didn't do any research pre this show.
Right.
I got the information together. I just posted links to their Pro Football Reference, which I love them. If you guys don't use Pro Football Reference, what are you doing? That's why you're losing football arguments, is you're not using Pro Football Reference.
Yeah,
it's the best.
Just don't use Pro Football Focus.
Oh, don't use Pro Football Focus. Pro Football Reference, totally free and incredible. They even say at the bottom, they're like, "Hey, if you use our stuff, please just credit us." So, hey, all the credit to Pro Football Focus.
100%.
I didn't know anything about football before I found this website. And now I know like 8 things. So, maybe I'm not the best spokesperson.
You sound like Peter over there.
Honestly, I was leaning towards thinking that Zappe was just like the shiny new toy.
Yeah.
And that Mac Jones was established last season, which still could be the case, but like looking at these side-by-side comparisons, I even thought like maybe it's who they played, which it does. I mean, he played Green Bay's defense and had a good game. I mean, he's not had a bad game yet, technically, other than this last game against Chicago. He played against Cleveland's defense and was lights out, 70% completions, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, dude was a monster.
Yeah.
He's had a quarterback rating of over 100 in every game except this Chicago game.
And that may be due to him not getting. I mean, I think if you decide pretty early on in the week that Mac Jones is healthy enough to play, he's probably getting a majority of the first team snaps, if not all of them, which means that Bailey's not. And so maybe that affects his performance coming into this game in relief of Mac. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. Or counterpoint, maybe Chicago's defense has started to figure something out.
I'm not going to go there.
I just think that we should just I'm not saying they are, but maybe we just tuck it in our pockets. Maybe that's a little piece of nugget that we can just sit and think about. Maybe take a peek this next week.
I credit
how they do.
I credit the craziness of last night more to Chicago figuring out an offensive plan that works for Justin Fields. That's what I credit that to, because instead of trying to turn him into a passer, which he's not, they allowed him to run the ball, which he does well.
Yeah.
And so they leaned heavily on quarterback designed runs. And I think that's what helped them out a lot in that game. And I think that's
Yeah.
the way that you use Justin Fields. I think is in an offense that has a crap ton of quarterback designed runs, but also sneaks in enough big passing plays because Justin Fields does have an arm and he can make passes occasionally, but you can't rely on that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
credit
If you put
credit
him
to
in,
Chicago.
yeah, if you put him in an offense like Philadelphia, and I don't know his ability to run the read option well,
Right.
but that where you're letting him either use his legs or occasionally make a short throw,
Yes.
that might be more successful for Justin Fields. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go legit Zappy and counterfeit Mackey. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
It feels
which is sad.
wrong doing that, but yeah, the way you phrased
Yeah.
the question, that's the proper answer in my opinion.
Yeah, man, who knew? That's it's a sad moment here on the podcast.
Yeah,
We liked Mac
it's
Jones.
going to be interesting to see what they do moving forward.
My
they've
least favorite thing about Bailey Zappi, he kind of looks like Tom Brady. It makes me like I liked Mac
the
Jones.
success is coming from, man.
I
That's
don't
what it
like
is.
this Zappi kid because he looks too much like Tom Brady. Maybe he's Tom Brady's son.
Oh man. Well, let's turn our attention to week 8. And I say we get picky with it.
No, 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 getting picky with it. No, 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 getting picky with it. No, 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 getting picky with it. Bow.
Yeah, no discredit to Peter, but it is nice having the proper theme song back.
Hey,
for this.
I liked his rendition. For the record, I was a big fan. I thought he nailed it. Did a great job not trying to be me, making it his own. Did great. I loved it.
If you listened to any of the USFL podcasts that I did with him, every single week it was a different tune. It was just a different way of doing it, which was it's a nice surprise for me every week. But
yeah,
starting us off, Thursday Night Football. Oh wait! Do you have our records offhand by chance?
I do. We are tied now. You have caught me. We are now 55, 52, and 1. If I did my math correct.
I think you're missing a game somewhere. 55, 52, and 1. Wait, maybe not. Hold on.
Because of bias.
You're probably not. But anyways, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I had a decent week. I think I went 9-5 this week in picks, which is bad that I'm saying that's a decent week. But in this season, it is. Irregardless, starting us off on Thursday night over on Amazon Prime. Also on Twitch. I just want to point that out. The NFL keeps trying to push this NFL Plus. If you don't want to pay for Amazon Prime, you can buy NFL Plus for like $5 a month to stream these primetime games on your phone. You can also just go get Twitch. Go get Twitch for free, and you can watch it for free on Twitch.
For free.
I'm not going to buy into the NFL trying to sell their own stupid app called NFL Plus that is pointless.
Their own app that doesn't actually show you all the games.
Correct.
If it was $5 a month for Red Zone, which, again, to plug Red Zone Mobile, you can get Red Zone Mobile for $34.99 for the season, and it might be cheaper now because like half the season's done. Yeah. But that's how I watch it. I plug my phone in as soon as I get home on Sunday because it's like, well, this is going to drain the battery because I'm going to be looking at it all day.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly stupid. The NFL is trying to find a suitor for their Sunday ticket package. I keep it in-house, NFL. You know how much money you could make by keeping it in-house instead of, giving it off to Apple or Amazon or whoever to take care of. Keep it in-house. Take all the money yourself. I would buy NFL Sunday ticket if I could, but I cannot because I don't have Dish or don't have DirecTV, and I'm not going to get DirecTV. So when that
Nope.
contract expires, keep it in house. What are you doing?
Keep it in your own house.
That's what MLB does. That's what NBA does. That's what NHL does. And they're all making money off of it.
Making money.
This has turned into a much longer rant than I anticipated.
Okay.
Starting us off on Thursday night over on Amazon, we have the Baltimore Ravens heading down to Tampa Bay to take on Brady and the Buccaneers, coming off that surprising upset loss to the Carolina Panthers. Currently on the road, Baltimore are 1.5 point favorites. And I think that's maybe disrespectful to this Baltimore team.
It is.
Baltimore, I will say, has not looked great at times, but they are a good team. And this Bucs team is not a good team. The fact that they have 3 wins is a shocking surprise that this team does not deserve. I think that Vegas is still, for whatever reason, buying the Brady hype, and I get it. He's the GOAT. He's the best to ever do it, whatever you want to call him. But this is not the same old Bucs team. I said it to you on Sunday that I think that we're at a point to where a playoffs without Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady being involved in it is a real possibility. And so I'm rolling with Baltimore this week. I think that they're the much better team. I'm not going to say they're going to go down there and win big, but they definitely could. This is a good team with a good offense. The only thing I'm worried about is that defense holding up in the second half, because they have not been great in the second half this season. But who you got, man?
Yeah, man. This is another one. The only thing I was incorrect about the NFC South was that I said I thought the Panthers were going to win the division, which, laugh at me all you want. I deserve it. I deserve that. But I said, Bucks aren't very good. People are like, man, you're crazy. This Bucks team, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, this Bucks team is not very good. Tom Brady, you say Tom Brady's getting old enough times, and eventually you're going to be right. But especially this Tom Brady who said, I'm done playing football. Never mind. I don't like my family that much. I'm coming back. Never mind. I don't really want to be here, but now I'm here, and I'm going to yell at my teammates every week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we see what Tom Brady's like when he doesn't have a good offensive line. So, like every other quarterback when they don't have a good offensive line. Not great.
And a literally completely non-existent run game.
Yeah.
Non-existent.
Terrible.
And I go back to, I didn't understand the preseason hype for Leonard Fournette, especially in fantasy leagues. I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. And I was correct, because they have been garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. But also they've been losing a lot. So it's like you can't run the ball much from behind. I guess
Atlanta still does.
The Falcons still do it.
Atlanta still does, and they're in every single game except for one.
Yep. So I think that, I'm going to the Ravens. All this to say, I'm taking the Ravens. And, the fact that it's a home game for the Bucks and the tickets are $88, it's to see Tom Brady.
Against Lamar Jackson.
That's how down bad they are.
Yeah.
This NFC South is awful. They all have losing records right now. Everybody in the NFC South has a losing record.
Yep, and what's crazy is if the Bucks lose this game to the Ravens, like we both think they will, Sunday's clash between the Falcons and Panthers will be for the AFC South lead.
The
NFC South lead, yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, you might have been wrong in picking the Panthers, but I don't think you were off by much, because if the Panthers had a competent quarterback, that's a team that would be much better.
Or maybe a competent coach.
I mean, that too. If they had started the season, which I feel like that was kind of you maybe buying into the Baker hype a little bit, which, I mean, we're both guilty of doing that. It is what it is. But
apparently Dan Orlovsky also picked the Panthers to win that division, so I feel a little bit better because I like Dan.
I mean, and it's a good Panthers team. It's not like that. It's a talented team, even with trading away Christian McCaffrey. This is still a team that has talent. But We'll see what happens moving forward with them, and we'll see how many more pieces they let go of before the trade deadline. But yeah, both rolling with the Ravens in the Thursday night primetime matchup. So let's move over to Sunday morning. We get some more.
Sunday bridges falling down, falling down, falling down.
We get some more Sunday morning football, and guess what?
Hip, hip, cheerio!
Everybody's favorite team on TV as the only
Denver
football team.
Broncos!
The Denver Broncos facing the, might as well just go ahead and start calling them the London Jaguars from Jacksonville currently. Playing over in Wembley Stadium. Currently, Jacksonville are 2.5-point favorites at their second home. And I think that's a little disrespectful to Jacksonville. Denver has been hot garbage through 7 weeks at this point. I think that garbage will continue. I think Jacksonville's the better team. I'm picking the Jags. I don't love Jacksonville, but I think they've shown a lot in year 2 of Trevor Lawrence being down there and Travis Etienne coming back from his injury.
Listen.
I'm buying a little bit of the Jags hype.
This is a Jaguars team who was 1 yard away from beating the mighty New York Giants. 1 yard.
Yep.
They caught that pass right there at the end zone. See, I'm just going Australian now. We'll just do the whole bit in Australian. He caught the pass right at the end zone. Didn't quite have enough. All right? So, other than that, the Jags would be looking at 3-4. The Giants would have lost a game. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think that the Jags, and they're basically our home stadium here, we're going to give them the win here against Denver Broncos. This Denver Broncos team doesn't make a lick of sense of why they're so bad.
Yeah.
Rubbish they are. Yeah, I'm tired of doing that. I'm sure you guys who are listening are like, thank you for stopping. We very much appreciate it. Yeah, there's no reason to pick this Broncos team to win anything other than maybe a coin toss.
Nope, not a reason at all. And I, just like all of you out there, I hate that they're on TV playing essentially in a primetime game. I know it's 9:30 in the morning, but it's they're the only football game on at that time. So
hey, if you want to watch football, church, you don't have to watch them.
There you go. Go.
It's a reason to go to church.
Go get some Jesus instead of watching this garbage Broncos team.
Yeah, it'll be a good excuse. No, win some Jesus points and say, you know what? I'm gonna skip the football today to go to church because I don't want to have to watch Russell Wilson.
Oh, moving on. We have the 2-5 Carolina Panthers coming off a big win over division rivals in Tampa Bay, heading into Atlanta to face a fun and frisky Atlanta Falcons team that is coming off a little bit of a loss, and they're banged up. So we'll see how much that plays into effect. Currently, Atlanta are 4.5-point favorites. What's the injury report like for them? I know their secondary is a mess right now. So what's it?
So Jalen Hawkins, the safety, who's had a pretty solid year, he's in concussion protocol. He is out. Okay. He is officially out for this game. AJ Terrell is not as bad as we thought. It's just kind of like a tweaked hamstring. I think that he is questionable. D. Alford, our other corner, it was less of an injury. They called him day-to-day. So D. Alford could make his return, which, I mean, he's not Casey Hayward or AJ Terrell, but right. I don't think you necessarily need that to play the Panthers.
I agree. I mean, you've really just got DJ Moore to pay attention to, and PJ Walker, while he's a fun quarterback at times, like he's not a great quarterback. Although I will say that he, I think, excels more in a downfield passing attack. But even that is spotty for him. And yes, can they protect him? That's the other question. Man, part of me really wants to pick Carolina. Like I like this Atlanta team, and I currently have them picked over the Panthers. But part of me really wants to pick Carolina just because of how banged up that
Right.
secondary is.
Yeah, I think that if it were in Carolina, I think that's probably a pretty good pick. I just think with it being in Atlanta, and I think that the Falcons are well coached enough
Yeah.
to like bounce back from that devastating loss, and especially, like if you're going into a game knowing you don't have AJ Terrell, you're gonna game plan different. If you look at
Yeah,
how the
absolutely.
Falcons played the last like quarter of that game, it was much better defense than it was the first half. Because it's like when you have to adjust on the fly to losing one of the top corners in the league, that's a tough thing to just recover from in 2 plays.
Right.
So I think that having the whole week to try to game plan to play more zone, and how to do that and disguise it with blitzes and things like that. I believe in Dean Pease. That's why I'm going Falcons, which probably is not surprising to you, but if I picked the Panthers to beat Atlanta, I don't even know how I could look myself in the face.
Well, for the sake of some controversy, I'm going to pick Carolina.
Hey, you know what? I'll take all the wins I can get. Thank you,
I'm
man.
going with the Panthers. I feel like the banged up secondary is going to strengthen that PJ to DJ connection that we got going on currently for this Panther squad. And I mean, I like PJ Walker. I've liked him ever since I saw him in the XFL. So I think he's a fun quarterback. So I'm rolling with Carolina.
We'll see. You know how I feel about quarterbacks in the backup quarterbacks in their second start.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Well, let's go out to Big D. Well, we've got the Chicago Bears coming off of a big victory over the New England Patriots, heading down to face that dominant Dallas Cowboys defense. This is one of the bigger lines of the weekend. Currently, Dallas are 10-point favorites, and I think that's probably accurate. I am still a little worried about that Dallas offense, just because they didn't look great against a very bad Detroit defense. Dak has not looked great for most of the time that he's played this season. That week 1 against the Bucs, he didn't look good, and this game against Detroit, he didn't look good for most of it. So I am a little bit worried. I don't think the Bears are much of a threat, though. I'm not worried about that Bears defense slowing him down. 10-point favorites, probably a little big, but I'm still rolling with the Cowboys. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Cowboy. I literally just next to this one wrote LOL 4 times. It's like, what do you mean? Am I going to pick the Bears? Justin Fields is going to get sacked 45 times. He is going to be under duress the entire game. Yeah, I think that this Dallas Cowboys defense is just too good, and the Bears defense is not good enough to stop I would say a Cowboys offense that struggles with its identity under Dak. I think that under Cooper Rush, they knew that they had to be a run-first team, and that's what you saw them do in the fourth quarter. They stopped leaning on Zach. They went more Zeke and Pollard and just started pounding it, and it worked for them, and that's how they came back. So while I think Dak is a good quarterback, like, if you're playing the Cowboys, you would much rather take on Dak than that rushing attack.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that, I think that if Kellen Moore will get his head out of his buns and actually run the ball instead of trying to be a pass first team with Dak, just be a run first team. Listen, as an Atlanta Falcons fan, I'm starting to be a really big fan of run first teams.
Yeah.
I really like how it looks. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, listen, if you have the ability to do it, I don't know why you wouldn't, because it's not something that a lot of teams do anymore, and so I think if you're able to do it effectively, it can be tough to figure out how to slow down and stop. And also, when you are a run heavy team, you control the clock. and
Yep.
that can be huge for teams. I would say in most cases, if you're controlling the clock, you're probably putting yourself in a good position to win the game.
Yeah.
So I don't. Again, if you're able to do it, which I don't think a lot of teams have the ability to do it, but if you're able to, I don't know why you don't switch to that.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in this NFL, that's been what was crazy watching Deion Jones in Atlanta is that when he first came in the league, everyone was like, "This is the new prototype for linebackers in the NFL," and even Roquan Smith. That it's like, okay, this is going to be it. But then those because they're so fast sideline to sideline, but they end up getting destroyed on the run
Yeah.
because when a lineman is coming up to them, yeah, they're fast, but they're real easy to push over. Like because they're so lean, they don't have the beef to step in and fill in a run gap. And so, you know, it leans on old school personnel in a new school league where you want a linebacker who can cover a slot receiver sometimes, or at least keep up with a Kyle Pitts style tight end in a zone, and
Right.
try to slow down Travis Kelce by being a bigger body, kind of fast moving. But if that guy is trying to stop the run, he's going to struggle. So anyway, that's a whole different rant about the run game being an interesting development in the league to see like if we swing back that way would be cool. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
Yeah. I don't either. Um. Well, let's go from one D to the other.
Okay.
Head up,
There's the name of the episode right there.
and head up
From
to Detroit.
one D to the other.
And head up to Detroit,
Yikes.
where we have the Miami Dolphins coming to town, coming off a win over Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football, heading up to Detroit to face this struggling 1-5 Detroit Lions team. Surprisingly, I feel like this is a bit of a surprise. The line for this game is Miami by 3.5. I feel like they should maybe be a little bit more if this Dolphins team is as good as we kind of feel amongst the Booth Review Discord community. We're doing power rankings. We're doing community power rankings.
The most powerful rankings.
The most powerful. And Blake, you have this team top 5. This Miami Dolphins team top 5.
I do.
I would think that if you're a top 5 team, you should be favored by more than 3.5 points against the worst defense in football. But it is what it is. This is another game that I kind of want to pick the Lions mainly because of the way Miami looked against Pittsburgh. I don't think Pittsburgh is a great team. I think they have the potential to be good, but they only scored 16 points against a banged up Pittsburgh defense.
Yeah,
and that worries me a little bit. Can't quite. As much as I believe in this Lions team, I can't quite pick them. I currently have the Dolphins. We'll see if that changes. But currently, I'm rolling with the Dolphins over the Lions. Who you got, man?
Sorry, I was just kind of looking at the points allowed by the Steelers this year, but no, I'm going with the Dolphins. Yeah, I think really highly of this team. I think that the Dolphins are one of the best teams in the league. If you look at how this team was playing earlier in the year before the Tua injury, and then I mean, I felt like they looked pretty solid in the game on Monday night. I know that they didn't win by a lot, but the game never felt like it was in doubt. Like the whole game, it just kind of felt like Miami had control. And
I'll say this though, like if Kenny Pickett had made a couple of smarter decisions instead of trying to force the ball, which ended up in interceptions, I feel like that game could have felt out of control really quickly.
That's true.
And I attribute that more to Kenny Pickett being a rookie quarterback than I do Miami having a good defense.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I still think that this Miami team, everybody can have a week where you don't look your best.
That's fair, yeah.
But and I think especially getting to a back in and into the swing of things, because this was his first week back, right?
Correct, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm a little forgiving tonight.
Yeah.
I think that the Dolphins are. Yeah. I think highly of the Dolphins. I don't think highly of this Lions team.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot higher of the Lions than you do, but I do have the Dolphins. I mean, I had them 7th in my power ranking, so
Yeah.
I'm not too far behind you. Um, they did lose some games when Tua was out with his head injuries, but
Or lack thereof.
yeah, but this Miami team's the only team that's beaten a very good Buffalo Bills team. So
That's gotta
I
count for
think that
something.
says a lot about this team, and what they're capable of doing. I think it's just a matter of getting back in the groove of things, getting Tua back in that offense, getting everything clicking again. And I think it will happen. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm picking the Dolphins to go into Little D and get the win.
Yikes. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Oh, let's move out to Minnesota. We've got the Arizona Cardinals heading up to Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Vikings that I feel like have kind of gotten overlooked this year as one of the better teams in the league. They're sitting at
Very much.
5-1. I think you could make an argument that they're maybe the 4th best team in the league, definitely top 5. But I think that they've just kind of quietly been going about their business and taking care of business. I do think they've played teams that they shouldn't play close a little too closely, especially their last game against the Bears a couple weeks ago. I think that they allowed the Bears to get into that game too much. They shouldn't. That's a team that you should pretty handily beat. I feel like, and Minnesota didn't quite do that. But listen, this Vikings team is still good. I still feel good about their season. They're sitting at 5-1. Like, they're a top 5 team in the league in my opinion. And so
Yep.
they're a 3.5-point favorite at home against an Arizona Cardinals team that I think is still questioning life, questioning everything. I don't think they have everything figured out. So I'm going with the Vikings over the Cards. I think they're the better team. Who you got, man?
I'm going with the Vikings on this one too. I think the Vikings, they have had quite an easy schedule up to this point, outside of their one loss, which was a pretty embarrassing loss to the Eagles,
True.
24-7. But I think that there's a little trouble in a brewing out in Phoenix. I think that Phoenix Heat is getting under Cliff Kingsbury's seat.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he is on the hot seat, because if it comes time where you have to make a decision between Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, guess who's packing their bags?
Yeah.
Not Call of Duty boy.
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury is in trouble, because if you saw last week, they were getting into it on the sidelines. Like, Kyler was big mad. And even funnier was in the offseason when Cliff Kingsbury's like, well, I think if Kyler thinks it's so easy to call plays, then I'll give him I'll let him do it up in the booth. And he did during the preseason. And Kyler Murray's led offense scored like 31 points in a quarter. It was like ridiculous. It was like, I think that Cliff Kingsbury was like, oh, okay, maybe I take it back. I take it back. It's really easy to do. It's really easy to do. Any quarterback can do it. So maybe Kyler Murray's onto something. I think that it might be time for Cliff Kingsbury to maybe get the boot, because this Cardinals team has underperformed for what they should be.
Yeah.
And the Vikings are every bit of living up to their potential. That, I mean, you talked about how good this Vikings team was last year, but was just under the thumb of the
Garbage head coach Mike Zimmer.
I was gonna say ignorant dictator, but sure, that works too. Of Mike Zimmer,
Yeah.
that didn't know what he was doing, didn't know what he had. Who knows what he was doing over there? But this team looks like a completely different team this year.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Everybody wants to talk about Brian Dabble being the coach of the year favorite for what he's
wait,
done.
let me. Is it Kevin
Yes.
O'Connell?
Correct. KOC. Everyone wants to talk about Brian Dabble and what he's done in New York with that Giants team, and that is fair because that team
Yes.
was an absolute dumpster fire last year under Joe Judge, and has since looked completely different with Dabble. But
Befuddling.
what Kevin O'Connell has done in Minnesota with this team, who sits at 5-1, I think is definitely worthy of some Coach of the Year praise.
Yeah.
As of right now, we'll see what happens as the season goes on. But yeah, Kevin O'Connell, definitely top 3 Coach of the Year candidate in my opinion.
Yeah.
So both rolling with Vikings. That makes sense. Let's go on down to New Orleans. We've got the Las Vegas Raiders coming in to face, I guess, still Andy Dalton and the Saints. Both these teams currently have 2 wins. It does matter. If watching that game on Thursday night, I don't think Andy Dalton played that bad. I think Andy Dalton actually looked pretty good. He had I think 2 interceptions, so 2 bad passes, but outside of that, I want to say he had like 300 something yards, 3 touchdowns, like a solid game from Andy Dalton, which is very weird to say.
He was nominated for the FedEx Air Player of the Week.
Yes.
And it was like, wait, he lost. Why would you vote for him?
30 of 47 for 361 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. I don't think Jameis does that. Like,
what? You mean 30 touchdown, 30 pick Jameis Winston?
Yeah, because he hasn't looked as good as Dalton has in this offense. When he's been out there, Dalton has looked better for the time that he's been out there than Jameis has when he's been out there.
I thought you meant you thought Jameis was better.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Jameis,
I'm saying,
I don't think has thrown for that many yards since he's maybe even added up together since he's been in a Saints uniform.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think even if Jameis Winston's healthy, if it's me, I'm rolling with Andy Dalton, which, again, is weird to say because Andy Dalton is not great.
Nope, and he's 34.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk 34-year-old Andy Dalton still starting for an NFL team? Yeah,
Crazy.
barely an NFL team.
Chaos nonsense season that 2022 is. But the Raiders coming into town, they are 2-point favorites on the road in New Orleans, and I think that's fair. This Raiders team, you continue to say, is not good. I think they're better than their 2-4 record says. They have put up a fight in every single game. I think there's just a matter of figuring out how to close it out and how to get a couple more things to bounce their way, make a couple more stops on the defensive side. And I think this is a good game to do it. I've got the Raiders beating the Saints. I have a feeling you're probably going to go the same way, seeing how you have said that you're not ever picking the Saints. But who you got, man?
Yeah, I don't see a reason to pick the Saints in this game. Again, it's just this season. Like, I'm pretty sure I did pick the Saints a couple times last season. I'm
saying for this season. Yeah.
Yeah, this season. There's just no reason. Like, I said there's no reason. Like, here's a question. If the Saints were to play the Panthers this week, who are you picking?
I would pick the Panthers.
Exactly what I'm saying. And I think we would all agree that the Panthers Panthers might really be the worst team in the league. So when I started this year saying this Saints team, I don't see them getting more than like 4 wins, and you guys were like, you're crazy. Here I sit on my throne of intelligence.
Now, hold up now. You say that as if I picked the Saints to go like 12-5 and go to the playoffs. I did not. I said the Saints, I want to say I had the Saints going like 8-9 or 9-8, somewhere around then.
Playoffs.
I definitely did not have them in the playoffs. 100% did not have them in the playoffs.
Okay.
But a lot of people did, especially in the media. And I thought they were crazy. I'm not 100% against you. I just think that I thought that you were too harsh on this Saints team, and I still kind of think that this team does have some talent. But
the closest this team comes to talent is the guys on the other side of the sidelines from them.
Listen, give Alvin Kamara some respect. Give Chris Olave some respect.
What has Alvin Kamara done? What has Alvin Kamara done this year to deserve any kind of recognition?
Chris Olave looks good as a rookie wide receiver playing with a combination of Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, and Taysom Hill as his quarterback.
He does look like a pretty solid wide receiver. Second best rookie wide receiver in the division, but a solid wide receiver.
I love how you say second best when Drake London has done nothing. They are not using. I mean, again, you have Marcus Mariota throwing him the ball, but you're not getting. It's a shame because Atlanta's not getting the full potential of Pitts in London at all.
No,
at all.
It's been anyway. We could be done talking about this game because we're both taking the Raiders. Neither one of us are going to watch this game. I mean, we'll see it pop up on Red Zone the one time some team scores a touchdown, but which will probably be on like a fumble or a blocked punt. Like it's going to be a game where
this Raiders offense is going to put up some points.
If you have money to waste, I don't give gambling advice, but if you have money to waste, throw it on the under for this game. The under is 49.5. The over-under line is 49.5.
I would not go that far. I think they'll hit the over.
That's fair. The Raiders do give up and score
a ton
over
of points.
20.
A ton of points.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, they're scoring like 25 plus points a week, and they're giving up like 24 plus points a week.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, never mind. Keep your money in your pockets. Don't gamble.
Let's go up to New Jersey.
Gambling.
Let's go up to New Jersey. We have the New England Patriots, possibly led by Bailey Zappi, possibly led by Mac Jones. We'll see what happens. Heading into New Jersey to face the New York Jets, the 5-2, shocking the world New York Jets. New England on the road though are 1.5 point favorites. I think that is incredibly disrespectful to this New York Jets team. I don't think we'll get to this a little later on, but Vegas isn't buying the New York hype. Vegas has the Jets as home underdogs in this game against the Patriots, and I think that's disrespectful. I don't think the Patriots just got blown out by the Bears at home on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
I'm rolling with the Jets. I think they're the better team. Currently, I still believe in this Patriots team, but that Jets team looks good right now. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm going Jets on this one. This is a game that I'm starting to get to where I'm like, man, can we not have the Jets on primetime? Like, I would rather watch the Jets on primetime than
the Broncos.
The Broncos?
Yeah. Than the Bears.
I know that technically the Broncos aren't. I wouldn't consider the Broncos on prime time this week. They're 9:30 on a Sunday morning.
True, but they're the only game on at that time. So
that's true.
It's again.
Yeah. I would rather watch the Jets than watch the Broncos at this point. Like I'm just curious about the Jets. I want to know how they're doing this. How are y'all doing this, man? Because I mean they haven't. You talk about a team that's been surprising. It's because of who their wins have come against. They beat the Browns. They beat the Dolphins. Well, they beat the Dolphins in one of the non-2 weeks. They beat the Packers. They beat the Broncos, which again, Broncos kind of stinky poo-poo.
Yeah.
But I mean, like this is a team that's pretty solid. Those are like at least middle of the pack teams, and so to come away with 5 wins is pretty impressive. So I'm going with the Jets on this one. I'm with you. I don't understand why you would have New England favored in this game at all.
Because it's New England, and they're supposed to be better, and the Jets are not supposed to be this good currently.
Maybe they're trying to get everybody to buy into the Zappi hype. Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, we're both rolling with the Jets. I mean,
yeah.
It's
nonsense season. We're picking the Jets to win.
I don't love this Jets team, but I think they've got a lot of things going their way currently.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. I think.
Oh yeah, I would. Are we still going to take the Jets without Breece Hall?
Yeah, you brought in James Robinson, and they've still got.
James Robinson's not going to be ready in a week.
It's not like he hasn't been running down in Jacksonville. Like, yeah, it's a new offense, but you still know how to run the ball.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And you've still got Michael Carter. Is that his name?
Yep.
There was a rookie last year that was very good as a rookie for them last year. So I don't think they're gonna miss. I mean, Brees Hall looks very, very good. So that offense will take a little bit of a hit, but I don't think it'll be anything substantial.
Yeah. It does give me a little pause. It does give me a little pause, but not enough.
All right, well, let's go out to Philadelphia for the Battle of Pennsylvania. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming into Philly to take on the 6-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Currently, Philly are 11-point favorites. I feel like that's all I need to say. Philly is the better team. The Steelers still figuring things out. That's really what it comes down to. I've got Philly rolling, probably winning by at least double digits, I would say. Who you got, man?
Yep, in the Keystone State Slobber Knocker, I'm also going to go with the team from the southeastern corner. Yep, Pittsburgh's like in the middle, I think.
Sounds about right.
And I'm pretty sure Philly's like close to Boston and all that stuff, and New York and all them, like over there.
Yeah.
You know, like so.
Sounds right.
Yeah, we're not a geography podcast. Give me the Eagles.
Yep. Rolling with the Eagles.
We've agreed on literally every game except for the Panthers, which you just took on a whim. So
every single one, really?
Every single game. But I mean, like, it's Broncos, Jags. It's Cowboys, Bears, Dolphins, Lions. Yes. Like, we could be looking at a lot of lopsided scores this week.
Yes. Well, let's head on down to Texas, where we have the 4-2 division-leading Tennessee Titans taking on the Houston Texans. Currently on the road. Again, I think this is a little bit disrespectful. The Tennessee Titans are only 2-point favorites. This Texans team's not good. Like, there's very few things to like out in Houston currently. And while I don't love the Tennessee Titans, I think they're a better team and should pretty easily win this game against Houston. So I've got the Titans over the Texans. Pretty easy game to pick. Who you got, man?
Same thing. And this is the cheapest game of the week. If you are near Houston, you want to go see the Texans get pooped on, you can go see that for $22 if that's your thing.
Go see Derrick Henry in person.
Yeah, man.
Like, what are you doing? $22.
$22 to go see Derrick Henry? I'd take that.
Yeah, me too. 100%. 100%.
So head on down to NRG Stadium for $22. But that's also a plane ride away. So
yeah,
a little more expensive for me. But
well,
I'm with you.
Let's go out to Indianapolis, where we have the Washington Commanders coming off that big upset victory over the Green Bay Packers, which I called and got correct. Heading into Indianapolis to face the Indianapolis. Listen, I just know my team. I did the same thing last year with the Vikings. When the Vikings, I just felt that loss coming, and I felt that one coming too.
We both did. We both called that one. Do you remember that? We both agreed, and you were like, wait, what?
The one last year? The Vikings one?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Anyways, we've got the Taylor Heineke-led Washington Commanders heading into Indianapolis to face Sam Ehlinger and the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Ryan is benched for the rest of the season. Very interesting.
Man dirty.
Very interesting decision. But they're seeing what they've got in Sam Ehlinger. I can't blame them. They're kind of in a position to where if Ehlinger turns out being good, they can make a run for playoffs. And if he ends up being bad, then they end up getting a high draft pick and can find their quarterback of the future, hopefully. But currently, Indianapolis 3-point favorites. I think that's maybe fair only because of the home team, but I am rolling with the Commanders. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I don't even. I'm like who is?
No, go lay down.
How many years has he been in the NFL? He's been second year, apparently.
Yes, he's out of Texas.
Yeah, I did vaguely remember that. He is not an NFL quarterback. Like he's never done it before. So I see absolutely no reason to pick Sam Ellinger to beat. I don't think very highly of this Commies team, but this is a Colts team that I don't feel very highly. I don't think very highly of, and they're bringing in this guy to be their quarterback.
Well, so
So
for what it's worth, Ellinger looked good in the preseason, and as the season went on, he basically, from what he showed in practice, replaced Nick Foles as the second stringer. I believe that was 2 or 3 weeks ago that happened. That he moved up the depth chart to be Ryan's backup. And as the season has progressed, and Ryan has looked not great, turning the ball over a crap ton. I guess that Frank Reich has seen enough in practice to say that Ellinger is a better quarterback for them currently, and they want to see what they have in him as the season goes on.
yeah, I don't buy it. I don't think that he. I just refuse. I refuse to believe that Matt Ryan is gonna go out like this, and it makes me sad.
But like you have to like at least admit that he's looked bad this year. He's not looked good.
He's been very statuesque. He has not been able to like diagnose, read the pocket, move around, escape pressure. He's also gotten sacked just an unbelievable ton. I don't know if it's just the blue is throwing him off or if he's just uncomfortable. So, or if maybe just their offensive line is not as good as we expected, which I think we'll see this week. Like we'll see if Sam Ellinger doesn't have time and if Sam Ellinger is running for his life or also just getting sacked 40 times, we'll be able to tell. But yeah, I'm with you. I've got the Commies in this one. I think that I'm like what Taylor Heinicke brings to Washington more than Carson Wentz, and so maybe we'll start calling the Commanders at some point.
Yeah,
Luna agrees.
I just don't understand why going into the season this Taylor Heinicke kid didn't get a chance to be the starter. I think this team could be sitting in a little bit of a better position. I'm not going to say a much better position, but a better position nonetheless. If he had been starting since week 1, I just think he's got a lot more heart than Carson Wentz does. So, anyways,
I think he also has more talent.
Possibly,
probably more important than heart.
Yeah, I don't think that. Look at what the Commanders did in the first half against that Packers team. They were not clicking completely, and he had some bad throws. He had a couple. I want to see he had a pick six early in that game to Devondre Campbell, and he doesn't let moments like that get to him. He takes it and says okay and moves on and performs better. And I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of quarterbacks that can't do that, and I feel like Heinicke has the ability to not let things like that get to him. Anyways, I've ranted enough about Heinicke over the last 2 years on this podcast. So let's move out to LA where we have the San Francisco 49ers coming down. Chiefs team. Now, granted, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are one of the best teams in football. But San Francisco, I was hoping would put up a little bit more of a fight. They did keep. They definitely let it get out of hand late. But I still think this Niners team is good, is talented. You got another week to get Christian McCaffrey accustomed to that offense. I think it's going to look good this week against a inferior Los Angeles Rams. I've got the Niners. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that the 49ers are the better team all around. Since the beginning of the season, I said I don't think the Rams are going to be as tough as they were. I like to bring up the things I was right about. I like that I'm right occasionally, and so I'll take it. I'll take the wins where I can get them. So yeah, I don't think very highly of this Rams team. I think that they're sputtering under leadership of an old quarterback, which we have all seen in literally every quarterback older than me in the league. Every quarterback older than me in the league, other than Kirk Cousins older than me?
I think
so.
so.
I think so. So other than Kirk Cousins, everybody else is just stinky poo poo. So,
Yeah.
it's the Blake curse. You don't want to be older than me. Don't do it. It's just bad. It's bad to be older than me. Um, so, yeah, I'm going 49ers in this one. Yeah, especially with Christian McCaffrey being in a Shanahan offense for 10 days now, or however long it's been. It's gonna be scary.
Tailor made for a Shanahan offense. Like,
Yeah.
once they get fully clicking, that's gonna be defenses.
Yeah. I think your audio has been dropping in and out a little bit on this segment, just so you know, to be like aware.
Hey.
I know I was losing you, but I didn't know if it was my internet. But
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
yeah, I heard you for most of it.
Going
But like
now. Yeah, you
when you
no.
were,
As soon as you pointed it out, I looked over and yeah, it was definitely doing something wonky.
yeah, it was like when you were introing the game. So you probably can pick it back up. Like you probably can, but it might be a good thing to just note of,
Okay.
Might need a little touch up in that section.
No worries. All right. Well, hopefully it doesn't do that moving forward too much. We got 3 games left, and we need to power on through.
Yep.
Moving on to it just dropped again.
Yeah, I got you. I have you now.
Yeah. I don't know what to do about that. That's not good. Crap. Okay. Well, we're just gonna hope that it.
There you go again. There we go.
Hold on a second. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
One, two. Check 1 2.
There you go. Gotcha now.
Hey, 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 hey. All right. Hopefully it doesn't crap out on me.
Yeah.
Let me do this. So I can actually see. If it does. Okay.
You just so you know, you might have to redo the intro for the 49ers Rams game.
Yeah, if I have to, I will. I've had to do that like 2 other times over the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
That's weird.
But let's move on to the spiciest game of the week, in my opinion, which is weird saying that about these two teams.
If you had told me this was going to be the spiciest game in week 8, to start the season, I would have been like, why?
100%, yeah. But this is the only game this week that features 2 winning football teams.
Wow.
Both these teams have winning records. The New York Giants heading out to Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Currently, I again find this very disrespectful to the New York team. Seattle are 3-point favorites against a 6-1 New York Giants team. Seattle are 3-point favorites. I don't understand what Vegas is doing. I don't get it. But if there's anything that I do understand, it's that the Giants, I don't think, are necessarily as good as their record indicates. I do like this Giants team. I think they're scrappy. I think they're fun to watch and root for. But they have had a pretty easy schedule. And while their schedule has been easy, they have not necessarily dominated any team, which you would like to see from a good team facing a inferior team. So 6-1, maybe it's fair for this Giants team, but I think it's closer to that 11-0 Steelers team that we saw a couple years ago, where it's not like this is not. I think we all kind of know this Giants team might be frauds. But for now, it's fun, and let's enjoy it while it lasts. So heading into Seattle to face the Seattle Seahawks, who, very similar to the Giants, have been shocking teams. Like, this is a team that we all expected to be bad. This is a team that defensively has nothing. But the offense has been revitalized with a Geno Smith, fountain of talent, fountain of youth. Geno Smith back there leading it. The DK Metcalf injury could be something to watch. I did not remember that until you mentioned it earlier.
Ooh.
But
I forgot about it since then.
In my spicy pick of the week, I have the Seahawks over the Giants. Don't tell me that you also picked Seattle over New York.
I did. What's funny is, like, coming into the podcast, I had written Giants, and then I looked down there just like earlier when we were making picks, and I was like, nah, man, I like these Seahawks too much. I'm gonna go Seahawks. But honestly, I do think that DK injury, that moves the needle for me, man.
Yeah,
I
could be
think
huge.
Are you looking it up to see what his status is?
I was not. No.
I can. You're good. So let's see what the deal. So one day ago, Coach Pete Carroll said Monday that Metcalf does not need surgery.
Well, that's good.
Not like the biggest vote of confidence, though. like it's not like, how is it? Well, he doesn't need surgery. It's like, okay, that doesn't mean like he's good. Let's see. Does anybody else have anything? DK Metcalf injury. We're just gonna Google this live on the air. The last thing I see from ESPN is he doesn't need surgery. Seems like that's like what everybody says.
Well, I mean, that's.
Wait. Bleacher Report here has that it is a patellar tendon injury that may have been an older injury.
Well, he's currently listed as questionable, so.
Oh man, I don't know what that makes me. I don't know what that does for me. Man. I think I'm gonna still roll. I'm gonna go with the Giants. I'm gonna go with the Giants. I think that even when I was like kind of looking at the game, Saquon is just playing out of his mind. I almost gave him best of the booth just because of like his season up to this point has been ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I do think that I was already kind of iffy on this one anyway. I just kind of went with Seahawks because they were home, but now without DK Metcalf, I'm gonna go with the Giants.
Hey, I mean that's fair. To me, I just feel like this Seahawks offense is maybe one of the best offenses that New York has faced all season. So I think that Giants defense, which I don't have a ton of faith in, is going to have a little bit of a tougher time. Now, I will say that the Seahawks defense is going to let Saquon probably run all over them and allow Geno Smith to pass the ball to whoever he wants. But I don't know. I have a good feeling about I said Geno Smith. Danny Dimes pass the ball to whoever he wants.
Yeah.
But I have a good feeling about Seattle. I don't know why. I don't particularly love the team. I just don't particularly buy into the Giants hype as of right now. So I'm not 100% sold.
And my body weight might be enough to bring down the whole bandwagon. So we'll see. We'll see if that's what caused the Giants' downfall, was me hopping in and saying, "Yeah, this team can win."
Well, let's get into some primetime matchups, which actually look pretty decent. Well, potentially, there's definitely potential for blowouts in both of these games. But Sunday Night Football, we have the struggling Green Bay Packers coming off of three losses in a row, heading into Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills, coming off of a bye week in which they were able to get rested. This could be a long day for Green Bay on both sides of the football. The biggest line of the week, Buffalo are 11.5-point favorites over this Green Bay Packers team. This was my preseason Super Bowl pick, was this Packers versus Bills matchup.
Yeah.
And it's looking pretty rough right now. Part of me wants to pick the Packers because I want chaos and because it's a nonsense season. Like, wouldn't this be like the most nonsensical thing to happen? That the Packers coming off the Packers coming off 3 losses in a row to the Giants, the Jets, and the Washington Commanders, then going to Buffalo and beat the Buffalo Bills at home. That'd be pretty nonsensical.
But they still have Aaron Rodgers. Okay, how about this?
True.
If Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and Jordan Love comes and beats the Buffalo Bills,
yes,
that would be the most nonsense thing ever.
I will say this, though. If Jordan Love wants to make a believer out of Packers fans, that's the way to do it right there.
All you got to do, Jordan Love, is go in and beat maybe the best team we've all seen in the last decade.
Just pull a Tanya Hardin and like take out Rodgers' knees before the game.
Oh, I thought you meant like the Bills players. I guess it's fine. Whatever.
Just take out Rodgers' knees before the game, get into the game, and just put on a show against a very good Buffalo team.
Most NFL fans wouldn't even be that mad at you. We're all kind of tired of Aaron Rodgers. I think Packers fans included.
I'm almost getting there myself, but it's weird, man. I feel like Rodgers is very frustrated right now with that offense, and like deservedly so. And a lot of that I think is on him, as well as the lack of talent around him. I was watching his segment on Pat McAfee earlier today, and McAfee asked him, what was Washington doing out there to frustrate you guys so much? And literally, Rodgers' response was nothing. They were doing nothing special. And we just couldn't. Like, it was on us. We had a lot of mental errors, and that is very telling of where this Green Bay team is right now.
Yeah.
That a team like Washington, that is not a good defense, did nothing special and completely shut down your team.
Yeah.
Held Aaron Rodgers to under 200 yards. When was the last time Aaron Rodgers was held to under 200? I mean, probably another time this season. But, He's coming off back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. But
it's rough, man. It's rough right now. All that to say, I've got the Bills in this game. Again, part of me wants to pick the Packers, but I've got the Bills.
I just wrote RIP next to this game. Like, the poor Packers. Like, this is awful.
What's gonna be tough? What's gonna be tough is after this game, they're sitting at 3-5, more than likely, barring a miracle. They're sitting at 3-5, which 3-5, 8 games in, that's a little bit of a tough hole to climb out of.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a tough hole. I mean, you would think that you've probably got to be. I mean, the NFC is pretty weak, but you've probably got to be 10-7 to get into the playoffs, which means they've got to go 7-2 down the stretch to get there, which this is not a 7-2 team.
You got to trade back for Davante Adams if that's what you're going to do.
Can we just reverse time and go back and not ever let that trade happen? I mean, golly. I will say this. If the trade doesn't happen, we probably don't get Quay Walker in the first round, which Quay has looked really good on the defensive side, I think. Yeah. But if that's the piece that we get for Davante Adams ultimately, I think Vegas fleeced us 100%. Yep. Anyways, enough talking about a crappy team. Let's move over to Monday night. Monday Night Football, we have the reigning AFC champ Cincinnati Bengals coming off of a huge win over Atlanta Falcons, where Joe Burrow just lit up the non-existent Falcons secondary. Coming in to Cleveland to face their division rivals. On the road, Cincinnati are 3.5-point favorites. It's probably fair. I would think it might be a little bit higher, but Cleveland does have a very good defense still. Their record does not indicate that. They're sitting at 2-5, which is, I mean, honestly, that's about where I expected this team to be at this point in the season, going into the season. I think they've performed better than a 2-5 record, but they haven't been able to get those wins. They've lost most of their games in the fourth quarter. They've had a lot of games get away from them.
Yeah.
All that to say, I've got Cincinnati in this one. I think they're the better team. I think they're just gonna kind of have their way with Cleveland. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm going Cincinnati. I'm kind of wondering because this is the second week in a row where the Bengals have kind of looked like they're back into their old ways. Now,
Yeah.
granted, that was playing against two NFC South teams. You had a game against the Falcons, a game against the Saints, where your offense starts to look like, okay, this is the offense that we all expected you to have this year after that Super Bowl appearance. But they look like they're starting to click and starting to get things together. So
Yeah.
I think that it could be recency bias that I'm buying into here. At least going that far to say that this is the Bengals bounce back and could be their kind of wake up for this season after the Super Bowl loss. But I do think that they are a better team right now than Cleveland. Just because of, I mean, honestly, it could just come down to quarterback play. Like,
Yeah.
just when you boil it all down, these are teams that have strengths on both sides of the ball. The Browns a little bit more on their defensive side, but still a solid offense, a solid offensive line, incredible run game, but just not an elite playmaker on as a quarterback. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Bengals in this one.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, I just think Cincinnati is currently the better team. I don't think that
Yeah.
Cleveland. I think this is probably what all of America wanted for this Cleveland Browns team to be looking like.
Yep.
So that by the time that Watson does get back, they're not even really, they don't even really have a shot at making the playoffs.
It's too late.
And that's kind of what I expected. I do think that Watson will probably be good whenever he gets back. We'll find out in 5 weeks, I think, from now, 5 or 6 weeks from now. But I do think that by that point it's going to be too little, too late for a talented Cleveland Browns team. But just
And he's been suspended for till week 11.
week 13, I believe.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a 12-game suspension. And I believe his first game back is against the Texans.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, 5 weeks out.
Yep. Well,
Teams on bye this week. We have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles. Los Angeles?
sure.
Yeah, Los Angeles, Las Vegas. Las Vegas, Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Chargers. Also on bye this week, so 2 of the AFC West
Yep.
boys are out. So they get a break.
Yep. We'll see what happens with those teams coming into next week. I think it's probably a very good time for a bye week for the Chargers. They need to kind of get some time off and heal up a little bit.
They do, man.
But we'll see what happens in week 9. As of right now, it's week 8. We still got 15 games to play this week. So we're looking forward to it. I think we got a decent week of games ahead of us. But thank you for listening. As always, we appreciate it. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for sticking around. If you're not watching us on YouTube, go follow us on YouTube. Click that subscribe button. Make sure your notifications are turned on so that you know whenever we go live every Tuesday. If you're not in our Discord, hop into the Discord. It's where a lot of the fun social side of us comes out. Because
it's where you can vote on the most powerful rankings.
That too. But we're terrible at the rest of our socials, so you know, I would say probably don't follow any of those. But if you want to, we'd appreciate it. Anyways, as always, we love you. We appreciate the love and support. So thank you, however you show that. And as always, I think that's that.
That's that. I liked what was it Peter said last week at the end? Did he say huzzah or
ciao?
Ciao, that's what it was.
Again, he did that every USFL podcast too.
Listen,
shows that you don't listen.
I didn't listen to the USFL podcast. Full disclosure, I just couldn't. I tried. I could not.
That's
get
fine.
Into it. Could not, because it's like I just had no idea what you guys were talking about. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand who they're talking about.
I mean, you can just watch the games and then you understand. But
I wouldn't.
Again, I also understand not wanting to do that.